Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Folks, last year we engaged in a month-long retrospective endeavor to cover all the animated classics in Don Bluth's filmography. This month, brace yourselves as we enter the dark middle chapter of our Bluthian journey. An adventure so dark it'll scare away the sun. No character, tall or small, will be able to avoid the frigid critical reception these films received. Before the end, you'll be a bad troll. A very bad troll. Chart a course for Planet Bob. We're diving headfirst into the second season of Bluth-Tember. Bum bum bum. Oh boy, Dragon, I don't know if either of us are ready for this yet, man.
Well, we're here.
We're here. Here we go. This is arguably, Dragon, would you say just like, in terms of sheer quality for a theme month, this might be the lowest of the low that we've ever gone?
Well, I'm getting a sense consistently it's going to be that, yeah.
Oh boy. Well, we got Titan AE to look forward to at the end. Never
Well,
forget
yeah,
about
again,
Titan AE.
we gotta earn that, though.
All
That's just
right.
hope. I don't know how it's going to stand up. That's just hope.
I know, right? That's true. That's a good point. Okay, so folks, we are back for another Bluth-Tember, as the intro implied. You know, the funny thing about Don Bluth as a filmmaker, you could almost cut his career in half. Like half his career in terms of just like the directorial efforts of full-length animation. Half of his career is just like outstanding. You know, you got your Secret of Nims, your American Tales, Land Before Times, All Dogs Go to Heavens, all just great stuff, fantastic, classic, kind of like those four, arguably the Mount Rushmore of Bluth films. And then, of course, you've got Anastasia, which, you know, that's also kind of held up in high regards, which was sort of in a weird spot in the Bluth timeline. And to this day, I think the only reason Anastasia worked is that it's basically a direct copy of the Disney formula, and I don't really think that flies too good in the face of the actual Bluthian philosophy. So, Dragon, here we go. We're talking a whole bunch of movies here that are just... I gotta be honest with you, buddy. I have not seen the middle three. What about you?
Well, let's see. I've seen... I think I've seen The Pebble and the Penguin. I've seen this, the movie we're here talking about today, but it's been ages, so I remember nothing about it until the rewatch. And again, basically three of these Bluth films, again, I'm at least familiar with, given the certain reviews. So, I mean, at least I'm vaguely familiar with them based on certain reviews, but I mean, watching them all the way through, not particularly.
To me, Thumbelina is the one that I have a big question mark towards.
I got nothing for... I have no idea what Thumbelina's. I've never watched Thumbelina.
Watch, Thumbelina is going to be like the weird sort of like, oh my god, this is like the dark horse of Bluth.
Might be. I don't know. I got a bad feeling about it, but we'll see.
Of course, I think the bottom of the barrel, like, I'm going to place my Vegas bets now, Dragon. The bottom of the barrel is going to be Troll in Central Park.
Yeah. Safe money. That's
All right, so let's get on to the film that we're here to talk about tonight. That is Rock-A-Doodle, which is, oh boy, Dragon. This was Bluth's film following All Dogs Go to Heaven. The first Don Bluth film to release in my lifetime. Dragon, do you remember the VHS for this movie by any chance?
Not intimately, no.
Okay, it was just like a big cover. Like the thing about this this VHS is that the cover was a mess. I vividly remember that because, you know, you got a big old Chanticleer, you got like at least 10 characters kind of vomited all over the small VHS cover. And it was just kind of like bright, weird colors like oranges and purples. I very vividly remember the VHS cover for this just being visually not very appealing. And I definitely remember this one being a movie that my parents would rent for me, but only a couple times. So I saw it like very much in passing. I never really liked it, and I never, it was always kind of like a mix of like the Duke scaring me for sure. That was definitely part of it. But then also, Dragon, I feel like you and I can agree. This movie, interesting premise, interesting setup. Generally speaking, I like the idea of Chanticleer being sort of like, updated into this Elvis type persona. But you got to admit, that just plot wise, this thing goes way off the rails really quick. I mean, this movie has some very gaping story problems that we're going to get into. So I've got an appreciation for this one. I will say that. I think this one has some really interesting, bold ideas. Like I said, generally speaking, with the Chanticleer stuff, I like. The Duke is a villain, is a memorable Bluth villain, so I'll give them credit for that. But, overall, I think the story is what kind of kills this film.
Okay. All right. It's my little thesis on Rock-A-Doodle. I'll tell you. Simply put, this was the beginning of the end for Don Bluth. Put simply, I think we can all kind of dance to that tune. I gave this thing a fair shot on the rewatch. I did, because it's been years. Again, last I remember was like a review of it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna let that poison my experience. I'm just gonna go into it fresh, see what happens, and I did. And Tiki, there's just nothing there.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's much, but I'll fight you for the nothing, my friend.
We'll see how that goes for you. So, Bluth, basically, I feel this movie, Bluth fell into the commercial trap that the Disney Renaissance avoided at the start, which then people debated like the second half of the Disney Renaissance, kind of after Lion King, that it may have kind of started to fall into that trap, but it's like the Renaissance kind of kicks off when Bluth is coming in with Rock-A-Doodle, because we come to the end of All Dogs. That's kind of the end of the 80s. Mm-hmm. I forget if it was 86 or 89, because it was 89, obviously.
89.
Okay, well, I guess it's okay. It's very much in competition with Little Mermaid, because I'm pretty sure Little Mermaid crushed it competition-wise. I think that's what happened. Anyway, the point being, so he's firmly in the Renaissance at this point, and I think he fell into the commercial trap that the Renaissance avoided when it got started off. It was like Disney doubling in for the artistry before it was about the Bank of America award, which kind of fought Katzenberg for towards the start. Anyway, so this oh boy, this feels like Icarus flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, definitely. I won't fight you on that. It's very auteur, Dragon. It's an auteur bad Bluth movie, which is kind of what I appreciate about it.
Well, here's the thing. I feel it's Icarus flew too close to the sun in like one last slight against Disney. It kind of feels like that was kind of a part of, if not intentionally. Even if it wasn't intentional or intended, it feels like that's kind of what happened with Bluth on this movie. It feels like he basically tried to repurpose. I'm gonna take an old Disney idea, I'm gonna repurpose it and make it work, and it didn't go that way. Not at all. He tried dusting off the old Chanticleer idea that Disney had back in the 30s, and it just blew up in his face. Basically, Bluth, he was on such a good track, kind of working from scratch and going off that model. I feel that, and he kind of pandered to the audience. He didn't fully pander yet, but he dabbled in it too much here, and of course it gets blown up, I'm sure, by the time we get to some of the later installments in this Dower theme month.
No, but here's the thing, though. Here's just to put an end to my thesis here. I honestly think this might be the last time until something like Anastasia or Titan where he's got any sort of passion for anything that he's doing. And, by all means, like, we have not seen any of the middle three films in this collection in forever. So we might be proven wrong. There might be some artistic merit there. But Dragon, I am firmly pretty confident that, yeah, this film absolutely goes off the rails, but at least it's Bluth being Bluth. It's not Bluth being successful Bluth, but it's still like, I don't know, I think there's something there, and I think it'll be an interesting conversation. All right, so you already mentioned with the backstory, the whole Disney Disney trying to do Chanticleer for a long time. That was one of their like white whales, if you will, for something they tried to do, but they could just never get off the ground. And then along comes Don Bluth, and the big competition kind of swoops it up. Anything else with the background?
Yeah. Just Don Bluth. One of the undoings of Don Bluth, and the reason he has just such kind of like kind of certain selection of Don Bluth movies, and that there's such a kind of a gap from the last time, kind of the Titan AE onward of it all, is that Bluth is always in financial trouble with these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, like a lot of name changing and stuff. So he was
dare I say, he was kind of like the Leica of his day.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
he was kind of Leica-esque.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he faced a lot of financial trouble with Goldcrest. They were not impressed by All Dogs because All Dogs was kind of mixed, and I think it was liked enough, but it didn't satisfy. Again, opened up against Little Mermaid, so what can you expect? Studio's not going to be happy. So this is like
All Dogs is definitely like the cult movie of Bluth's classics.
Yeah, certainly, without question. So there's that, and he's facing down the business end of the Disney Renaissance, which again, so apropos, and this is like the tragic irony of Don Bluth. The Disney Renaissance, in part, made possible after he left.
Right.
Because again, he had taken those artists with him, kind of starts things in motion. So, Anyway, so of course he repurposed the abandoned pitch that he kind of was enamored with when he was at Disney. It was, from the old '30s pitch, which I don't think was like necessarily a white whale. It was just kind of like an abandoned concept that I'm sure he kind of stumbled upon in archives or something. I mean, 100%.
As far as I know, Dragon, the Chanticleer thing. I maybe white whale is too strong a term, but like it was definitely something that they were trying to develop for at least more than one decade. I'll say that.
I want to say it came back in the '80s during that kind of that period before, and hence maybe that's how Don Bluth got some eyes on it because it was in talks.
Like it's got a history that's sort of similar to The Thief and the Cobbler in terms of just like just how long different versions of the story were worked around through different studios.
Right. All right, so big thing. It was inspired by Roger Rabbit, hence the kind of the blending of live action to the animation.
Oh God, this is like Roger Rabbit's sad stepchild. Yeah. Oh man, don't get me started.
So the idea is he saw that he wanted to incorporate live action, which as it would prove too much for him because as you can see, the live action is kept minimal because he wasn't crazy about directing live action. He learned that the hard way when he was directing a big rain sequence in live action. You can imagine how difficult
right
that could be. He picked the worst type of thing to direct in live action.
Seeing the Duke interact with a live-action kid is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool sequence.
Initially, yes, but then things take a turn.
All right.
So, also, the big thing with that, too, is he did the whole farm setting in live action was a nod to Wizard of Oz. He was going to go a little deeper within black and white and stuff, but that's just the point being, it was a Wizard of Oz. It's Wizard of Oz meets Roger Rabbit is what he was going for with the opening.
Oh.
And the big thing that led to the undoing, I got to mention here before we just jump into things, that there was a lot of audience feedback factored into this movie, which also kind of helped spell its doom.
Oh, yeah.
They did a lot of test screenings, a lot of stuff, and of course what they did, like any animator's worst nightmare, you get a test screening back, a few test screenings, and they're working overtime, working on the changes, working all the way up to the deadline, making sorts of changes and stuff, and it was murder, and it ended up being released against Fern Gully.
Oh, God.
So, just add insult to injury.
Yeah, that is an insult to injury situation for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so let's see. So, oh God. Oh boy. So, Dragon, in terms of the story, I don't even think it's appropriate to give like a beat by beat breakdown of the premise because this story is so batshit crazy. I just kind of want to just riff on it.
Oh, I can. Let me. Well, I'm prepared to tear into this thing, man. I gotta.
Well, I mean, all right. I just there's definitely things I want to comment on. So go ahead.
So I mean, the story in quotes as is, just to recap it in quotes here. If you want to summarize it, that we gotta find Chanticleer, apologize to him, and get him to crow again and save the day. It's pretty much the story. Okay, but here's
simple, right. Sounds pretty simple.
Sounds simple. Okay, so the biggest problem, as Tiki kind of alluded to, and I absolutely full-heartedly agree on. Here's my kind of my thing on the story. Biggest problem with the film, story is garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We took they've taken something simple and complicated in this it becomes this narrative Rubik's cube. That's kind of what we end up having with this film. There's they're basically I've kind of nailed in like the three elements. Okay, first element that like right off the bat that just kind of like ticks me off. The sun won't rise plot point is BS in every sense of the word.
But it's all a dream, Dragon.
We didn't know that at the start though, and it's
I
before the kid goes to sleep. This is what I'm saying.
but I mean that's the thing with this movie is that pretty much any plot hole can be explained with like, but he was just dreaming. It's got like the Alice in Wonderland plot armor.
So here's okay. So Chanticleer here's when I'm watching the movie. The story initially, I have there's like a flag plan. We're like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot here. Something I kind of like this one thing we did here, where Chanticleer is coming to grips with the sun is rising on its own, like a rooster learning that I don't make the sun rise. What is my lot in life? That's a good idea. Okay.
Right, but the problem is that there's a big inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much inconsistency everywhere with this movie, Dragon. Like, I'll give you a good example. Like, for example, just the distance between the city and the farm just absolutely drives me fucking crazy on a logistic level.
Yep.
I don't know. That maybe that's a small example, but it always has bugged me. There's just so many things about this movie that just don't make sense. You know, like why Edmund suddenly dies. You know, and I don't know. It's
So even ignore with the sun thing. The sun thing I think is
yeah.
like the simplest and biggest pet peeve. That just starts us off on the wrong foot. Even before we complicate things, it's just like, okay, sun rises. Okay, there's your story, and then no, it is a magical thing. It's like he's got a crow and bring the sun up. Well, what just
It's like
happened?
why would the sun rise if it like why would it be like a one time exception kind of deal? You know what I mean?
Yes, because here's the thing. Even because according to Bluth, and apparently he did like an interview once where he said the original, we outlined the plot of the movie and the premise is that the anthropomorphized sun, which we saw like the happy smiling 30s sun, which we did, we saw that. The
Uh-huh.
idea that didn't make it at all into the movie because all these stupid test screenings and everything and crap, and they had to spell it out in narration, which it didn't work at all. Is that the sun felt supposedly the sun was supposed to feel so sad that's why it didn't rise. Which even if you just forget the fact that we're lacking information, if you just accept, okay, that's what the intent is, where the sun is sad and Chanticleer has the crow to cheer it up, it's still dumb. It doesn't work any way you slice it, and it's still just like it's blatantly as anyone watching, even if you're a kid, you're like, but that's not what happened. He left because the sun came up. And if you're saying that didn't, I saw BS. I saw that with my own eyes. Don't lie to me, Bluth.
Oh God!
I saw that. That just happened.
Yeah.
And
It's all
then,
bad. It's all bad. Oh
so
God.
there's that. Now we get to the Rubik's Cube element of it all here. So we have too
Oh
many
man.
flipping devices. Too
Dragon.
many.
Wait, I'm just if we dissect this with a fine tooth comb, man, we're gonna be here forever. So just make your points concise
This
here,
one's
buddy.
important, though. We
All right,
got
all right.
this one.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have the two as the narrator, which seemingly straightforward. Okay, I'll buy that.
You can never say no to Phil Harris. Am
Yeah,
I right?
yeah, it's Phil Harris. Okay, so we had a narrator that was Phil Harris, and okay, it's that character. That's not too complicated. Okay, so the idea he makes the end. The story's telling the story. That's fine. So then, mother reading to her child from a Chanticleer bedtime story. That's a
Mm-hmm.
little
We're gonna
trick.
Princess Bride it for some reason because Princess Bride is popular right now at the time that the movie's being made.
Okay, that's a little something there, but I guess I can kind of wrap my mind around. And then we have dueling narrative. The two of them, like, wait a minute, his voice is now going over the mother reading to her child. How does this work? And then that's the thing, just with that and everything, we're blending the realities. The whole blending realities is where you completely lost it. It's ad infinitum nonsense. That's what it's ad infinitum nonsense. Layers upon layers of nonsense that doesn't work and complicates everything. It's like someone took the stickers on the Rubik's Cube, put all over the place. It'll never be solved. So Bluth, again, wanting to do this Wizard of Oz meets Roger Rabbit, it all gets jumbled up like that. He let just experimenting with things get in the way of the story he was trying to tell, which is what corrupts the whole.
Yeah.
And just to show you how stupid this is, the kid points to the owl on the page, and that breaks his monocle.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my God, yeah.
And, and the Duke is PO'd about that. I'm saying, wait a minute. So, okay, let me outline. Unless the kid gets sucked into the book, that doesn't work. Okay, this whole element here with the kid being incorporated in the story, it's a half-baked, pale imitation. And it predates this, but still, it's a pale imitation of the Page Master, man. Page Master, not perfect, but charming enough film, looks good, makes sense. Even if you don't like it, it makes sense. It tracks. The logic tracks.
I You done?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I hear you. I definitely think that the biggest problem with this film, just generally speaking, is obviously they were trying to do the Roger Rabbit thing, but in the end, that just ends up being by far A, the most superfluous thing in the movie, and B, the thing that confuses the narrative the most. So if they would have just had Edmund be a kidding character on the farm, and not had the ridiculous, like, I'm all furry thing, which, by the way, just that running gag is
That's the
great.
thing, because the kid's saying, I'm all furry, but everyone just hears, I'm a furry, which is stupid. Just.
But, yeah, I don't know, Dragon, I certainly agree with all your points. This thing, like, to tell you the truth, I kind of like it for just how much it jumbles your brain. It kind of feels like an acid trip for me, and like this movie for me is like the closest thing we've ever got into a Bluth acid trip, and for that reason, I kind of like it in just the auteur regards. But I mean, make no mistake, it's bad.
I'm just going to say this, Tiki, again, just remarkably, when you really put the two up against each other, Page Master does all the narratively ridiculous things that we just went through, but it does it right. It does it very streamlined, straightforward. And also, kid doesn't turn into a kitten; he's an animated kid. That's the difference, too.
Sure, yeah.
You can follow what's happening, even if you have the dream thing, which again it kind of does, depending on how you look at it. It still works. It's straightforward. You know what happens. Anyway, so I'll talk about the ending when we get to the kid later on. So let's just move
Okay.
on.
All right, so let's see. Let's get to the characters, right?
Off the garbage story onto the characters.
Onto the garbage characters.
Well, no, I just meant off to the garbage story. Let's talk about the characters, see how they fare.
Okay, so Chanticleer. I mean, I like the design of Chanticleer. I like the general vibe that he gives off. Wouldn't you agree?
Chanticleer, I feel, is the biggest missed opportunity in this film.
I agree. I feel like the problem with him is that the story just gives him no justice at all because, like, I'm attached. Like at the start of the film, like you say, it's not like a masterful like Pixar level setup or anything. You know, it's no hang on RC. You know what I mean? It's something like that. But you know, it's still it's like the film gives you something emotionally to hold on to with Chanticleer at the start. And you do kind of, you want to, like, on a base level, you'll want to see him reunite with his friends. The problem is that it takes too goddamn long for him to reunite with his friends, and once he does, he's useless for the most part.
True, but Tiki, the simpler version of that is it's the title character is a non-character in his own story.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. Okay, so Chanticleer, not Glenn Campbell, of course, playing Chanticleer. Not even Bruce Campbell could have saved this movie or this if they got him in this. And basically, of course, built around a musical talent, hence the whole Glenn Campbell of it all. There, huge missed opportunity because again, you had your Bluthian story in there. Okay, you sympathetic character, crow, a rooster without a purpose. Interesting idea. Silly concept and design. If you look at this, guys, like Chanticleer looks ridiculous, but again, it's a ridiculousness that could have been maybe what would have won you over if you had more time with him, you know?
Sure.
And again, I just love that idea of that purpose being a lie and then going to like this music career. And again, the idea was kind of just with the title alone, they know they're marketing this with the title like this, Rock-A-Doodle. You're thinking, okay, we're kind of paralleling, like it's like a little parallel to the Elvis fame story. That's kind of what we're going for, a very Elvis-inspired rooster. Maybe, again, if this were a smarter movie, it's Chanticleer's movie. He goes for a music career, and again, maybe we parallel a little bit of the story of Elvis. I don't know. I'm just saying a little bit of that because we have kind of a Tom Parker-esque character with the manager. I'm just throwing that out there. You know, it's just like the point being, like, maybe a rise and fall of fame story, assuming it's his movie, but it's not. And
He really is kind of like the plot device in his own movie.
he just gets numb to fame after a while. And again,
Yeah.
maybe a parable to an Elvis thing, but we don't know because it's not his movie. And he's only got one. He only gets one scene of actually doing anything. It's one scene where he reveals as he's been manipulated to, and he kind of rides that motorcycle out of the studio. It's all he does in the movie.
But I mean, throughout the movie, we get little snippets of like, oh, that could have been a good character. That could have been a good arc. Yeah.
Could have been. We'll never know. The world may never know.
So frustrating all around. Let's see. Okay, who's next?
Edmund. This will be a treat.
Oh, Dragon, this kid just
Second biggest problem with the film is this kid.
I mean, the voice actor can't act. Just the amount of times we have to hear Chanticleer.
If that kid said Chanticleer,
I know it's a huge problem.
I'm gonna chuck him out that effing window that he's yelling out.
It's a huge problem, Dragon. I mean, just inherently with the movie, it's just like I don't know. If we have to have a kid character, why couldn't it have been the mouse? The mouse was like a much more likable, and like she was actually like proactive in the story, unlike this Runt for the most part.
Maybe, but here's my pitch: the dog. Let's make Patu. Let's make him the main character. Phil Harris, novel idea. Let's make Phil Harris our.
What the hell does? I mean, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but what the hell does that guy even do in the story at all?
That's what I'm saying. Let's give him something.
Right.
But anyway, so Edmund again boiled down a little bit here. Again, we've oversold the audience POV character for the kids out there. We need kind of a kid character. So we're literally going to put a kid into our story. And again, the kid is too cutesy, and this is Bluth overdoing what he'd done so well up to this point. He kind of managed, he kind of distilled the science of the cutesy kid down in the early.
Super Ducky Dragon.
That's what I'm saying, and now it's an overdose of Ducky right now. He OD'd on Ducky.
Oh God.
No, I don't mean John Cryer, the other Duck. Anyway, so of course we turn him into a kitten because here's the thing. Honestly, it's that Bluth couldn't maintain live action, the crossover effect through the whole movie.
Okay, but why couldn't he have animated a kid?
That, and again, Page Master did it better. Sorry,
yeah.
Last time. Yes, that's the point. Again, he couldn't make it a kid just for simplicity's sake, because no, it's all animals. They're all animals, right? It's an animal world. We can't have like a kid in that, right? We can't.
Okay, and then at that point, why do the kid to begin with? Why do you need him? God damn it!
Why not use the dog, who has an established, credible actor attached to him? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And again, this whole scaredy cat runner we give him doesn't track at all, because it's like, well, his whole thing wasn't that he was scared. He was calling for Chanticleer. I mean, one could argue maybe that's kind of brave-ish. And for a kid, at least for a helpless kid, calling for help in a storm to help his family.
Right. Yeah.
Scaredy? I mean, no, he's like literally risking life and limb later in the movie. Why are we calling him a scaredy cat? No, anyone should be scared in these circumstances. And why does no one believe he wasn't a human boy given the magical owl antagonist? But anyway, so the ending with this kid, with point you mentioned earlier, just the kid, quote unquote, dies, in which he then wakes up.
Why does he die? Like, it's the most ridiculous implied fake death, Dragon.
See, the thing is, the film had no ending. They must be that they just had no ending. They wrote themselves into a corner. What happens next? The kid dies, and we reveal it's a dream because he wakes up.
Right.
We've written ourselves into a corner, writing in parentheses here because it's not really writing. After this thing. In quotes, I should say, and again, basically after the only thing the ending has to, it's like a "Do you believe in fairies?" chant for Chanticleer, Chanticleer, Chanticleer.
Yeah, which is like easily the most obnoxious scene in the whole movie because it takes the Chanticleer thing that's been driving us crazy the whole film and just like, here, you want more of it?
Smaller gripe. In live action, mother wakes the kid up. And he says, "You stay in bed. You need to get your rest." Why'd you wake up in the first place?
Right. Yeah, it seems like the sun's out. It's, it doesn't seem like it's like totally like early in the day, so.
Yep. Then we just chuck
Oh
the rules
boy.
out the window, like, "Hey, live action intermingling for a happy ending." Ah, it's like, what? What? Anyway, okay, so let's just move on. This kid's giving me heartburn. Let's just move on.
Oh God. All right.
No, I'm kidding, but this kid bugs me. Let's move on.
Who's next?
You know, but
Oh,
two.
two. Right, right. Okay, first of all, just annoying name, generally speaking. It's just,
I
I
don't
don't
even know
know.
if I'm saying it, but I'm assuming it's Patu because I think it is.
All
I'm
right,
pretty sure.
so he can't tie his shoes. Next.
Why'd we give a dog shoes? I mean, to the Bunions gag, I guess. But why? Why does he need? I don't
This character, it's so sad that this is Phil Harris's last role,
know. Yeah.
Dragon. That's depressing. I mean, this character just gets nothing. It just
All
nothing.
he has like one line where he kind of voices the. He's basically the most. He's the one you can take the most seriously because it's Phil Harris. But outside of
Mhm.
that, he's voicing the remorsefulness amongst the group, which again in conflict with that stupid sunrise thing. But still, it's like we feel bad. Like okay, he feels bad. So that's all we've given him. And again, we can't just have like imagine this, Teak, a better movie of this. Okay, they have the Chanticleer rise and fall of fame story. Patu seeks him out, maybe with an assortment of farm animals. No kid, mind you. Still, no kid is not entered the movie at all. Patu is like he's making a heartfelt plea and a good, it's like maybe a story about friendship and forgiveness and like that's like what happens to our friends when we chase them off. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. None of this happens. Let's move on.
Okay, Goldie.
She's okay.
Yeah, I basically equate her. Maybe it's just the voice, but she's kind of like Audrey from Little Shop.
Yeah, a little bit. Just it's basically it's okay. She's kind of good-hearted, I guess. She falls for Chanticleer. Not a lot of time to really get to know those two crazy kids. But again, problem with the movie: no
I
Chanticleer.
will say that the one moment where they're falling for each other, and Phil Harris is like, "Well, we lost them, boys." That moment was a little like Dragon. Like I said, there's tiny little nuggets. There's tiny little nuggets, which we'll get to in a segment. But there's small moments here and there that I can actually feel. But yeah, with Goldie, not much to her. I mean, I definitely, I kind of appreciate that her art tracks in terms of, kind of working for the bad guy until she sees how evil the bad guy actually is, and then, helping out the heroes.
That's all
Uh,
she's got. Just she picked the wrong side moment. That
Yeah, but
was
you know
great.
what? That's all she's got. But
Yeah,
it's at least it's more cohesive than most of the other arcs in the movie.
it's the most substance we got. So let's take it.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to Snipes and Peepers.
So we have Eddie Denson or Dennis. Is it Dennison? Because it's spelled. Point me at Eddie Denson, Mandar from Dexter for the kids.
I've
And
only got one voice ever.
yep. Well, again, some voice actors they're known for a certain voice.
But does it have to be that voice?
Yeah, I didn't cast it. Okay. And we have Sandy Duncan, which of course we know Sandy Duncan for a number of reasons, but my favorite version is the Freakazoid gag. Who's my mother? Sandy Duncan.
Oh God.
Funny. Anyway,
So Mandark is Mandark. It's like I don't really I don't really have much to say about him. He's just kind of like the typical like Will Ryan esque comic relief of a Don Bluth movie.
yeah, just he digs the food and the city life. That's all I got. He's got an okay design, maybe I guess. So the mouse really stubborn to listen to the fact that the kitten was a real boy. And again, like, hey, let's mock him while he's risking life and limb. Let's do that. And they forge some sort of bond. Not really. I mean, I'll admit, it's the closest thing we have to an arc along with Goldie. It's the closest thing where, okay, the kitten ate her, and then she befriends the kitten. Later on, the kitten tried to eat her, and they kind of befriend each other. I guess, but it really
I
dies
just like how
before they befriend
spunky
each
this
other.
mouse is, though. That's the thing. I like how I like
Yeah.
how she's a go getter. I like how she's, frankly, like I said, I think she could have been a better like kid character than
Sure.
than Edmund, because I feel like she actually has some moments where she kicks some ass in the film. So I don't know. I like her from a personality level, but like you said, story wise, there's really not much there. Arc wise as well.
Mouse with glasses, I'll take it. Okay.
All right, so let's get to Pinky. Did this guy give you a Sheriff of Nottingham vibe?
I didn't think of it that way. I guess maybe I was thinking more Colonel the whole Elvis thing. Colonel Tom Parker. That was the main
Sure,
kind of thing
sure.
I got. Where you getting kind of the very greedy manager.
I
I
think this
honestly I
guy.
wish
I think this guy's kind of effective for the for the limited role that he has.
I agree. And again, had the film been refocused, if it were purely just
Mhm.
like a simple like kind of rise and fall of fame story, honestly, I think this guy should have been featured more as the bad guy
I
if it
agree.
were
I
just that.
agree.
Which again, the fool is that, so I can't say and he should have been the lead because I don't know how that would have turned out. But it's just had the film been streamlined, this guy could have had a more simple. Again, had the movie been simpler and streamlined without all this magic stuff. Perhaps that could be it. That could be that could work. But I think he fit his role quite nicely. Just kind of greedy, kind of Hollywood manager and producer
Mhm.
sort of type.
Yeah, I think he fit his role well. I mean, I think this is one of the things we're kind of hitting on Dragon is that maybe perhaps the more simple the arc, the more effective the character.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about I think maybe perhaps one of the more divisive villains out there, which is the Duke. And first of all, let's get to Hunch, which is the bad guy, the nephew. Dragon. Literally, all I have to say about Hunch is that he's a weaker version of Killer from All Dogs.
Well, it's so funny you say that because that is Killer from all. It's Charles Nelson Riley doing
Yeah,
the
I
voice.
knew that. I knew that.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, well, yeah,
but
pretty much.
but I'm just saying, it's just like it's basically the same character except not as memorable.
Yep.
So that's really all I have to say for that.
All
The
right.
Duke, though, I love the Duke's design. I wish he was in more of the movie. I do find him genuinely intimidating. I think the scene where he confronts Edmund in live action is like the one cool moment with Edmund at all in the whole film.
I agree. When the kid's not a stupid kitten, yes.
um, I don't know. I think with the Duke, his motivation is kind of stupid. Like he's not really the most threatening in that way, but just visually speaking, Dragon, I really like what we're doing here.
I am inclined to agree with you for the most part with the Duke and the Christopher Plummer. It's a great casting and a cool design for sure. Again, he is menacing initially, very menacing initially,
Hmm.
before all the songs happen. But yes, I like the gimmick. And again, this is where we get into the whole again. We could streamline things, but even so, it's like they have your Chanticleer story, which I don't know if there'd really be room for the Duke of Owls in that, but let's just say there is. Duke of Owls, his motivation I can buy, and that okay, the gimmick of at night the owls will rise and they'll torment the farm as your menacing thing. The idea, owls are you're gonna prey upon things at night, and that's why they get a kick out of like the sun not being around. That I can buy. Again,
Hmm.
story wise,
Kind
is
of
crap.
fable logic, if you will.
That's what I'm saying. Fable again, it's logic tracks. Owls come out at night, therefore, if there are bad guys, that's why they want the sun not to be around. In that
Right.
regards, but again, you have to pick a path. Okay, it's either okay the rooster does control the sun or he doesn't, which they don't take a proper stance on. Again, the too much singing with him and his other merry band of
Oh
owls.
yeah. Oh god. I think that might be the biggest like Bluth taking a cue from the Renaissance and just absolutely misfiring there with trying to do villain songs and just like A, multiple villain songs almost never work. Almost never work.
Yep.
Uh, but B, it's just frankly just like there's these villain songs are weak sauce. I mean, he'd eventually get there with the villain songs for Fusion. He'd eventually get there, but this is not it.
Okay. Two things with the Duke. One, with the Duke, I did appreciate the big moment that he contributed towards the start of the movie with Chanticleer, where it's like, okay, he sent one of his cronies with the blades on his talons, which was a cool idea, to
Uh-huh.
mix it up with Chanticleer and make him basically like a God bleeds moment, where we're going to reveal he doesn't control the sun. If that were the movie, and that's kind of what it seems like for that bit, that could be really great. I'm sorry, I know it's a broken record, but I'm saying him contributing to that with like, okay, the little actiony kind of Bluthian fight perhaps with these two characters led to that reveal. That's a good plan. That's like a Whiplash plan from Iron Man 2 before we kept him around too long. Similar problem. We kept this guy around too long.
Right, right.
You know, and so that's a problem. A bigger flaw with the Duke of Al's. Why doesn't he kill Chanticleer? Why does he set him up with his lounge act in the big city?
That is, because if he didn't, there'd be no movie.
I know that's exactly. That's all we got. It's just like, why is he like like he has like Pinky under his like doing like a backdoor deal with Pinky? Like, okay, keep him out of my hair, just give him a little Hollywood career, whatever. It's like, well, you almost killed him, and now he doesn't have any fight left in him. You could literally you were gonna eat a kid for touching your monocle. You realize for breaking your little monocle by somehow reaching through a book to do it, which makes no. Anyways, I don't know. It's just dumb.
All right. Okay, so Dragon, let's get into let's sift through for some good quality stuff in the midst of all this chaos. Let's go through some diamonds in the Bluth.
Yes. Let's. Of course, 92, the year of Aladdin. How appropriate.
Ah, yes, of course.
Well, I don't have much. Why don't you start?
Yeah, I mean, I have some stuff. Like I said, just generally speaking, I just like how weird and out there this movie is. It might not be good per se, in the conventional sense, but I feel like it's definitely the closest thing that Bluth has gotten to like a balls to the walls like drug trip kind of movie. And I like that about it because it really is the kind of movie that your brain just kind of melts to. And I like the Duke. I think the Duke is a good villain, as we established. There things they could have done with him, certainly. But, but still he's got a good presence. I think there's moments that the Chanticleer thing really shines, especially the whole, like, well, we lost him, boys. I don't know, that moment in particular, like, even though Goldie doesn't have a lot of screen time, I can really kind of feel the whole, like, losing your friend to him falling in love. You can really feel it in that moment. It's like one of the few moments of genuine emotion in the movie. Like I said, I really like the mouse character, and I think that she probably should have been the main focal point if we needed a kid character as a focal point. And generally speaking, the foundation of the Chanticleer stuff, the setup is strong. It's just there's really the foundation just breaks very quickly on in this movie. But yeah, that's about all I got.
All right, I have very little here, so I'm just gonna rapid fire it. Okay, so I love the aircraft with the golf course inside. That's really cool.
Right.
The vague skeleton of kind of a rooster with an Elvis parallel. That's a good idea. Didn't do anything with it, but it's there a little bit. Kind of the whole disillusion with fame, like kind of Elvis in the '70s. That's not bad. Again, the initial failure of the opening, the whole he's not the rooster he thought he was. That whole angle again, as Tiki kind of said, the Duke of Al's turning into a tornado in the third act. That's pretty cool, right?
Doesn't make much sense, but
no, it's garbage, but it looks cool. I don't support the logic. I don't support the logic, but the misdirect at the start of the Duke of Al's is a really neat idea, where the kid's calling for Chanticleer, and then Duke of Al shows up. Again, better movie. We could do something with that, but like the whole he comes from the book. Anyway, I don't support how that comes about, but I like it. So it's like, hey, the owl shows up, and that's really creepy. And the only positive thing I'm going to say about Edna in this whole thing, the car chase is pretty cool. He's like playing chicken with the car. Once he works up the courage after that weird trippy sequence when he's like, "No papers."
Right.
After that sequence, he's driving the car and he's like gonna kamikaze it into the bad guys for a second. There, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. Final thoughts, Dragon. On my end, I can't hate this movie, all right? I know this movie is just inherently just super duper flawed. Like, just absolutely the most flawed thing that Bluth had ever come out with up to this point by a fucking country mile. No question about it. Like, this thing has just, gaping plot holes, weak characterization for the most part, just crazy animation. But Dragon, like I keep saying, the reason I keep going back to this movie, I don't go back to it all the time, but I certainly do go back to it, is that it is just insane. It really is like a peek into Bluth's mind, and I am very curious with the middle three movies in this little endeavor we're going on. I'm very curious to see, because this movie, would you agree that for better or for worse, it definitely has Bluth's fingerprints on it?
Yes, there are Bluth fingerprints here. Yeah.
So just going forward and tracking our progress here, I'm very curious to see, like, if Bluth just kind of becomes a studio machine, which I'm kind of afraid is going to happen with the next few movies, or if we're going to kind of discover weirdly that these next few movies are also like Bluth fever dreams in their own way. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping for the latter.
All right, so I gotta tell you, you look at this movie. The phrase "Rock-A-Doodle" has some like Bob Peterson, one of the great minds at Pixar, one of the great story men. You did this sketch once where basically he's wearing a T-shirt that says "Rock-A-Doodle," and yeah, it's the old storyboard. Look like a little storyboard nod of like, "Hey, you rock that doodle for all the storyboarding we're going to be doing," which again is the most positive interpretation of the title "Rock-A-Doodle," I feel. And just not taking this title literally. Oh, it's a rooster, you cock-a-doodle-doo, but it's a little rock and roll. That's what we're doing there. Yeah, but well, of course, like taking that out of the equation. Like, this movie with Don Bluth backing it, it should be like rock-a-doodle in that kind of positive, kind of artistic sense. Like rock that doodle, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It is not that. It's like the pitch scene from Elf. And I mean that in the literal sense where if you remember in Elf, you had that scene where they're pitching all these really cheesy kids book ideas. And it's always about like a lonely fruit or a lonely like a lonely vegetable or fruit on a farm. It's like Gus's pickles, that sort of thing. That's like that's all that sort of stuff. It just feels like kind of like the last ditch pitch of like we have an ostracized kind of small town farm related thing, and then we kind of go off the rails. It just feels like it was a kind of a cash-in pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm truly disappointed in Bluth on this one. I am.
Oh.
Yeah. It started to. This is him starting again. He's not fully there yet. He's starting to give into this thing. He's starting to get into the reason they left Disney for. He's starting to get into like this is not making movies by committee and by like what sells and like all that sort of stuff. That's what it comes across as. Like you can still see fingerprints of an artfulness in here and a potential, but he sold out the story, which I feel a little betrayed by, a little bit. It's a shame because even in the again, because even with the unloved of those early films like Your All Dogs, again, there's still you felt something. Even the critics like, well, I like moments in this movie. There's something there, something to glom onto. Even if like it's not 100% perfect or anything, it's like what this was. I felt something. This is a good movie. And I might rewatch this again. This is not one of those times. I think he absolutely missed the mark on what made Don Bluth kind of a name to be reckoned with in his day. And this is like, again, this is where like the hand trembled, so to speak, and this is where things he's gonna kind of really go off the page going forward. I get a sense of. I'm getting storm cloud of doom here, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the storm weathers here. Maybe we'll sing it away. I don't know.
We can only hope.
Again.
Okay then. Well, folks, we made it through another one of Don Bluth's movie making misfires. Join us next time as we brave more film from the dark side of the Bluth on yet another harrowing installment of Bluth-Tember!
Bum, bum, bum.
Chanticleer!